Okay, you're now live.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to the February 15th West Hartford Senior Citizens Advisory Commission meeting. This is virtual, so hope everyone's able to get on. I'm going to call to the meeting to order and then go through some procedural stuff that happens with online meetings. So I'll officially call the meeting to order today at 10:03. All right. My name is Rebecca Hajosy. I'm the chair of the commission. Noreen Bachteler is the deputy chair. Wave to everybody, Noreen. This meeting is being conducted in a virtual format in accordance with the Freedom of Information Act as amended by Public Act number 21-2, which authorizes municipalities to conduct public meetings virtually. Members of the public can view the meeting live on West Hartford Community Television at www.westhartfordctv.org and YouTube/WHCTV5. The meeting is also being recorded for on-demand viewing and will be available on the town's website for at least 45 days. Since we are conducting this meeting virtually, there are some special rules and procedures that I need to cover before we begin. First, I ask all participants to mute your device when you are not speaking. If you wish to be recognized, please raise your hand and I will call on you in the order I see hands raised. If I don't see your hand or the little hand icon, then just unmute yourself and let me know if it's been too long. If you are participating by audio only, or I do not call on you, then unmute and let me know. Second, main motions will be made by me, and for the virtual format, no second is necessary unless it's a type of motion that requires an amendment. And so at that point, once I call the motion, we'll immediately go to debate and or a vote. All speakers should try to make an effort to identify their names and their title before they start talking. I know that's hard to remember to do. And if you have a name icon visible, try to make sure it's your icon so that Anne can know when she's taking minutes. All votes must be taken by roll call unless the vote is unanimous. So I will ask, instead of people having the vote, to ask anyone who has a problem with it to come forward. If you're having connectivity issues, reach out to me or David or Noreen so that we can try to get you hooked back up. If we have a quorum, even if we drop somebody, I'm told that we're supposed to move forward with the meeting and try to get you back in. But if it doesn't work, then we'll still go forward. All right. So let me see if we have enough people for quorum. We don't, do we? So what should we do, Noreen?
Do you know if anybody's calling?
Oh, did you hit that little button? Yeah, right now there's not a quorum. So David, we're trying to find out if somebody tried to call in.
Yeah, I don't have anybody waiting. It looks like, yeah, it looks like everyone trying to get in has gotten in.
All right, so what should we do?
Well, I think we could still have the presentation by Bob McHugh, but in terms of any formal voting on the minutes or any other activities, we would not be able to do so without a quorum. Maybe we could start with the presentation, because this will be on live and it'll be helpful
All right, so what we'll do is we will do roll call and then we will proceed, but instead of going and approving the minutes and doing the chair's report, we'll just go straight into Bob's presentation. Bob, as you know, once you're done, feel free to pop off after questions and stuff. All right, so Linda Hansen is not here. Mary Riley is not here. I'm Rebecca Hajosy. Bob, would you introduce yourself? Oh, you're muted.
There we go. Robert Kennedy.
Yeah, just say present. All right, Rosemary Cleary is not present. Noreen, are you present?
Yes, present.
And that is all the members. So now I'd like to recognize other officials that are here for the record. So Rebecca, can you introduce yourself?
Good morning. I am Rebecca Sears, the director of Bishop's Corner Senior Center and Elmwood Senior Center. And to my right is Kevin Ryan, who is our new intern who has just joined us. And he will be partnering with me to make some improvements to programming here.
Welcome.
Morning.
All right, Anne, you're next.
Ann Visiglio, recording secretary.
Welcome. All right, and then Kevin.
Good morning. I'm Kevin Farmer with ITN Central Connecticut.
Wonderful. And then Karen.
Hi, Karen Paquette, West Hartford Social Services.
And then Beth. Oh, you're muted. So Beth has submitted a request to become a member, and it is pending, and so we're excited about that. But that's Beth Rocco. Then Gail, you're ready.
Yes, Gail Crockett with the Senior Job Bank and also Citizen.
Excellent. And then there's Bob McHugh. And Bob, I'm going to let Noreen introduce you. And then you can just segue into your presentation. Bob's going to talk about emergency preparedness.
Hi, good morning, everyone. We're very pleased this morning to have with us Bob McHugh. Bob McHugh is currently the Deputy Emergency Management Director for the town of West Hartford. Prior to taking on this role, he spent 39 years with the West Hartford Police Department and supervised the detective, training, traffic, and records division. Bob grew up in West Hartford and continues to reside here. So we'd like to welcome Bob. He's going to be speaking to us about being prepared and the special needs registry and the newest initiative that he is leading on the Cert teams. I have publicized this information at the town libraries and at the senior centers, and it will be available on YouTube for 45 days. So welcome, Bob. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Noreen. Good morning to everybody. I'm really happy to be here today. I do have a PowerPoint that we're going to try and share because that's going to be much more interesting than looking at me talking for the next 20 minutes or so. So if you just bear with me, we'll see if we can get that going. Okay. Can folks see the PowerPoint?
Yes.
Okay, great.
Looking good.
Excellent. Very good. So I'm going to start with this slide. I'm going to end with this slide, which is my contact information. So that's the phone number to my office here for anybody that needs to call me. That's my email address, the robert.mchugh@westhartfordct.gov. The other email below I put up because that also goes to me and it's a lot easier to remember, which is OEM@westhartfordct.gov, which stands for Office of Emergency Management. I'm going to show this slide at the end also so that you don't have to rush and get a pencil right now, but it'll be available later for everybody. So today, as Noreen mentioned, we're going to talk a little bit about preparedness, but obviously that's such a big, wide topic that we certainly wouldn't have time to cover everything. So a couple of the things that I want to cover today are the newly reformed West Hartford Community Emergency Response Team, or Cert team, and also talk a little bit about some of the efforts that the town makes to communicate with residents in a two-way manner so that we can better serve the community during emergencies, especially town-wide emergencies. That has to do mostly with the special needs registry. And also we'll talk a little bit about the emergency notification system that the town has. Also, feel free at any time if there's any questions or observations or I'm not clear, just speak right up. Be glad to answer any questions as we go along too. So why is it that the town actually wants to get everybody as prepared as possible and really stress the need to get preparedness? Well, the very first reason is that when there's an emergency, either within your home or a town-wide emergency, the very first responder to that emergency is going to be the individual. It's going to be that person that it impacts. So with just a little bit of training or preparedness or planning, an individual can really reduce the chances of injury or property damage or negative impact to their life if they just have a basic plan in place. It also, by planning and preparing, can reduce the time it's going to take us all to recover from an emergency. So that's the first reason, is we want people to be prepared that if an emergency happens in their own situation, that they have the tools to be able to respond to that. The second is during bad weather, response times are going to change significantly in town. Like right now, if I needed a police officer or a fire truck, they're going to pull up to my address probably within 3 or 4 minutes. We can get a DPW crew out from the town to remove a tree that's blocking the street probably within 20 minutes. Eversource can get a crew out usually within 30 minutes to start working on restoring power. And that's they call blue sky weather, where it's a nice day and there's no other emergencies. But when there's a town-wide disaster, those response times are going to be increased dramatically and may not even happen at all, depending on the call that comes in. This bottom picture that you see here is on Farmington Avenue during Tropical Storm Isaias, and that occurred 3 houses down from where I live on Farmington Avenue. A primary line came down, started arcing and sparking, actually turned the cement and asphalt and stone there into glass. Took the fire department over 30 minutes to respond because they were handling other emergencies. And once they got there, all they could do is tape it off and then leave. They had to wait for the power company to come and cut the power, and they would come back and check on it. But when you have trees that are going into people's houses, people that need to be rescued, car accidents, they're going to have to prioritize the calls. So in this case, we had neighbors that were actually coming out, keeping other people away, just kind of that idea to be a little bit prepared for an emergency like that. So that's why we really want to get as many residents prepared and thinking about this as possible, so that when these emergencies does happen, those first line units can be reserved for those true emergencies that are going to occur. So how does the Community Emergency Response Team, or CERT team, fill into it? How does it fit into this kind of model that the town's developing? Well, CERT team actually is no more than just a group of residents or students or business folks that work in town that receive some specialized training in how to prepare themselves for an emergency, and also how to assist the community if an emergency does exist. They don't replace frontline workers, but they assist so that frontline workers can be freed up to do their primary duties. A good example of how this could fit in is during that tropical storm Isaias, there was a police sergeant that had to be assigned to the Emergency Operations Center, or the EOC. And her job was simply to write down all the telephone poles that were broken, all the wires that were down, so that she could make notification to Eversource. What we're doing now is training our volunteers to come in to take over those duties, so that trained police officer can be released to go out onto the street with all her knowledge, all her equipment, to respond to calls. so that it's using the limited assets that we have during an emergency in the most efficient manner as possible. As you can imagine, when there's a big townwide weather event, something funny happens is we actually start losing town employees that can't respond to work because maybe the roads are blocked or they have personal emergencies. Well, we do end up with more residents at home because they can't go to work. So it's a way to kind of tap into a pool of folks that are available and willing to come in during these emergencies. The other reason that we have formed the Cert team is that during any kind of natural disaster, we get a lot of people that want to volunteer during the event. And that's not the time to train people, is during the actual emergency, because that takes people away from responding to actually oversee and train them. So the Cert team provides a group of folks that are kind of generalists, that are already trained as a group of volunteers that work together, have trained together, that can just come out and help respond to an incident in town. The picture that you see here is our Cert team in action up at Conard High School during the COVID vaccination clinics. I'm sure some of the residents that are going to watch the video or participating in the meeting probably have wondered who these folks are with these green shirts that just suddenly popped up in town. And that we've been assisting the health district with probably thousands of vaccination clinics throughout town. Cert also will be helpful during townwide events, such as Celebrate, Park Road Parade, Memorial Day Parade, where extra folks are needed to assist in those events. Cert teams are all over in Connecticut. I think there's roughly 75 teams throughout the state, but they all share these common values. The most important is that everybody is welcome on the team. There's no prerequisites except you have to be 18 years and older, and that's by state statute. But people of all abilities, backgrounds, technical skills are all invited onto the team. There's really no background check. There's no prerequisites. It's really a very inclusive group. We also believe firmly that everybody can prepare for an emergency. It doesn't matter, honestly, how old you are. That goes for children all the way to us older folks. All skill sets is everybody can be prepared. We also are very inclusive in our training, is that all abilities are welcome for our training. The training is geared towards the average person. We can make accommodations for folks that have a special need that can take the training. And it's really that whole theme of we want to get as many people prepared as possible to better prepare themselves and to help out the community if they need it. The other hard and fast rule too is nobody ever gets deployed or volunteers unless they've taken care of their own safety first and their families first. So that's a key prerequisite also for a response. And then the other key too is that nobody is asked or required to do anything on the team that they don't feel comfortable doing. We certainly had team members that were very comfortable going to a vaccination clinic and helping out there, but they just didn't want to go to the parking lots and hand out the N95 masks because of weather or whatever, and that's perfectly okay. We have a very strong group right now of solid 40 volunteers that come out, and everybody likes to do a little bit different, something different. The photograph that you see down there is just a picture of one of our training classes where the fire department was giving us training on how to put a victim in a recovery position. So that is a standard position on the bottom that we're trained to do so that folks can, if they're having a medical emergency, keeps their airway open and can breathe. So, as I mentioned, each Cert member receives a minimum of a 24-hour basic training class. The class has a bunch of different modules in it. It heavily stresses how to prepare your own house and family for an emergency, how to set up an emergency kit, a go bag, how to have a communication plan with your family. We also have a kind of an interesting chapter on animals and disasters, and that was a big thing after a couple of the hurricanes down south, where they found that people didn't want to leave their homes because they didn't want to leave their pets behind. So that's now part of the training and shelter management, is to make sure that we can accommodate pets if we have to, so that folks don't stay home when they shouldn't stay home. They should come out. We talk about how the team is organized, the incident command system, how to treat people that have been the victim of a disaster, how to help them, at least not as a professional, but at least be able to comfort them during some crisis that they're having. We have some first aid training, do a little light search and rescue. Here you'll see the pictures where two of our teammates are getting instruction by the fire department on hands-free CPR, or not, I'm sorry, hands-only CPR. Got to use your hands for CPR, but no breaths, which is kind of a new technique. The bottom corner, you'll see two of our Cert members just successfully rescued Mr. Grayman, that we will hide in a building and have folks go and organize themselves into a search party to go find him, so that if we're ever called upon to help with like a lost child or a lost adult, we have some training in that. And if I didn't mention, obviously, some first aid training. Now, what's also interesting is a Cert team is actually kind of recognized by the state of Connecticut as part of the Civil Defense Preparedness Initiative. We fall under what's called the Connecticut Citizen Corps program, which includes the Cert program of auxiliary fire departments, also the Medical Reserve Corps, the MRC, and also a Cert team, which is a volunteer kind of Cert team that deals with animal issues. Members, if they're actually activated during a statewide emergency, are covered under workers' comp, in case, you know, not that they normally would be involved in that, but if they were out during a storm and got injured, they have the same coverage as a state employee. They also have increased immunity from liability so long as they're within their Cert training and doing what they're supposed to do. So it's officially part of the state's response to natural disasters. The team also gets some good support from the state. Each Cert team will get a grant of $1,000 a year for equipment. Each time you run a training class, they will give you $1,200 to help run the class, pay for instructors if you need it. Each person that successfully completes the course gets, I should have mentioned it before, that green Cert backpack, which has first aid kit, flashlight, tools, duct tape, safety vest, and that's all provided by the state at no cost to the municipalities. And FEMA also gives us all the training materials that we need. So this just gives you kind of an idea of what we've been involved in so far. We were actually relaunched. We had a team previously back around 2009, 2010, but reinstituted it and launched in June of last year. We've been helping out the library with their children's summer concert series. We assisted social services in the state at the United CT rental assistance program that you may be familiar with. That was the program that helped tenants and landlords get some funding so that they could stay in their apartments and landlords weren't getting financially damaged too badly over it. Lots of flu and vaccine clinics. So far, we've distributed over 100,000 N95 masks at our 100 Mayflower Street location that we've been distributing. We're doing currently shelter training with the American Red Cross. And as I mentioned before, we've been doing the parades also. And here you see a picture of, that's just the top picture is our N95 mask distribution that we've been running for the last, I think probably 6 weeks down at 100 Mayflower, as I mentioned. And then that bottom picture is the first training class that came through of our Cert team. The future, you'll be seeing us, I'm sure, at the Celebrate West Hartford and probably the Memorial Day Parade also. Now, just switching, it should give you a good overview of the Cert team, but just to switch gears a little bit too, I'd like to speak a little bit about the Special Needs Registry and other ways that the town has to keep people informed and try to assist residents during a town-wide emergency. And here are the 3 basic steps that we would talk about how to prepare for an emergency, which is have a plan, have a kit or a supply, and then be informed. And at some point, I'd love to come and spend some more time with you to talk about making plans and getting an emergency kit together. But today I thought we'd just talk about the importance of being informed. When an emergency comes, a lot of times we have a lot of notice, especially in the case of maybe a tropical storm or a winter storm. Sometimes we almost have a week's notice. So it's important to stay alert for that and start preparing early, because as we all know, you don't want to go to the grocery store the day of the storm's going to hit, because nothing's left. You can't get into the parking lot. Everybody's grumpy. So the quicker you get out there, the better. But there's also going to be times where we don't know an emergency is coming. That would be like the October 2011 storm, where all of a sudden it's just a town-wide event. But what will happen in both of those events coming is either the town will try and push out information early about how to get prepared, or right after the event, as things settle down, they will start pushing out information to alert residents as to what resources might be available to help them recover. So the very first thing that we'd really like folks to do is to sign up for these community advisory notifications or alerts that the town has. Now, the advantage to that is right now we have the system where the alerts will come out. Usually it'll be the mayor will call your house with an advisory. Those numbers are limited to only those that are landlines in white pages. So there's no, unless somebody signs up for those alerts, those won't go to your cell phone. They won't go to your email. By signing up here, you can sign up every device that you have so that you'll get those alerts coming out. We've been using this system to alert residents about the mask distributions, or back when we were doing the COVID test kits. It's very simple to do. You just go to the Town of West Hartford website, just look under community advisory notifications or notifications. Really simple. Put your name in, how you want to be contacted, and you're in the system. For anybody that's listening, if you have problems and you can't get to a computer or have access to do this, you can give me a call at my office, and either myself or somebody else in the office, we can sign you up for that so that these can come directly to your cell phone or other device. Now, the advantage to doing this is if you lose power in your house, you're probably not going to have access to the TV. Radios might not work. But if you do have your cell phone and it's charged, you can still get those alerts from the town that might tell you where a cooling station is, or where you could charge your phone, or where you might be able to pick up ice. Or during one of the storms this year, we had to have a location where you could drop off food that had spoiled in your refrigerator. So it's really a really good notification system the town has, and we really try to push that. Underneath that, you're going to see the ready.gov site, which is a federal site that FEMA runs, which has a host of information for folks to prepare. And that includes people in particular categories or with special needs. They have a section on for older Americans, for folks with special needs, how to help your pets during a crisis, how to deal with help children go through events, how to prepare. So if anybody has any spare time or wants more information on just general preparedness, that ready.gov site is very, very helpful. And then lastly, just wanted to talk about our special needs registry. And this is a site that's designed for residents that might need additional assistance during a townwide emergency. This would be a person that has mobility issues. They may have medical equipment that's battery operated. They may be a caretaker for somebody that has special needs. And residents sign up the same way they sign up for the notification system. You go to the town website, look for the special needs registry, fill in the information that's required there. If anybody has no access to a computer or trouble signing up, they can also call our office or email me, and we'll make arrangements to get them signed up. So this is not, got to be clear what it's not. This isn't, if the power goes out, you immediately get a call from my office or the fire department or social services checking on a person. What this is for is during the recovery phase after a townwide emergency, we will start going through the list to just double check and make sure people are okay, or if they need anything. Last time we used this extensively was in the early phases of COVID, when the state shut down and we realized that a lot of folks that were dependent on outside agencies for resources just weren't as available as they were before. So we go through the list, just double check, make sure, are you okay? Do you have enough food? And then try and give them the assistance that we could. So also when this form comes in, if there's a specific special need, we can also forward that information to the emergency reporting center that takes the 911 calls in, and they can actually enter into an address a special alert. And that might be that there's, somebody that's confined to a bed on the 3rd floor or something like that. So if a first responder came, they would have that information available to them. So that's also really encourage people to use that and sign up as just another way that, we can provide a little bit of, I wouldn't say necessarily safety net, but just one more check or balance in there that could help. But we also want to really push that people have to be responsible for their own safety. So if they're in a situation that they need assistance, is they need to call 911 or the police department or the fire department right away, and we'll try and get them the assistance that we can. So once again, this is all my information that people can write down. Always feel free to contact me. Usually email is the best because I'm out of the office a lot, running around, and don't check my voicemails till I get back in. So, but usually got the emails right on my phone. So that concludes what I have. I'd be very happy to answer any questions or anything like that anybody had.
So did you say that there were 40 CERT members in West Hartford?
Yeah, we have, so far we've trained 60, and depending on when we have an event that we need folks, it's usually I can pull together about 40 of those folks almost at any given time to come out and assist. And actually with the mask distribution, I've actually kind of been limiting how many people that we need because I've been having more volunteers than they have work for them at the time. So I don't know if you've gone through the mask distribution, but they've got it down at a pretty good system where the cars just pull up. We can do 6 cars a minute down at Mayflower, just pulling up, open the windows. Here you go. Have a good day.
I live over near that Mayflower property, and I saw it in action. It worked really well.
Yeah, great.
So is that the number you're aiming for? Or is there a number that you'd like to see in volunteers?
Well, there's two. Our first train of thought is you can go through our CERT training and you don't have to be a CERT member. So the key is for us is always preparedness. So even if folks weren't necessarily interested in being a full-time CERT member or a CERT part-time CERT member, the training still has value. So we're going to continue the classes to make sure that folks, we get as many people trained as possible. We really don't have a limit as to how many we're looking for. We're limited to our class on how many we can teach. And actually, we have a class right now, and I'm at 48 folks that are interested in training in this next class. And we're actually, which is really great, is we're having folks from Bloomfield, Bristol, Hartford, Ellington. Some of their CERT members are coming too, so we get the opportunity to cross-train with folks from other communities. So our goal is we'll just keep growing it. We also want to have enough volunteers, and one of the other models we have is we ask everybody to do a little bit, so nobody has to do a lot. So we'll take anybody right now.
Bob, have you presented this information to the seniors in town at this point?
We have not done a huge amount of outreach, and I think a lot of it has been due to the COVID. As much as I like WebEx and Zoom, it's so much nicer to be out in person to do that. So we have done very well in bringing in folks from all different ages. Our youngest CERT member is 20. I think we've got about 5 or 6 kids. I'm sorry, 5 or 6 young men and women that are in college that are there. and I believe our oldest member is in his early 80s. So we run the gamut of it, which is nice. But I can't speak highly enough about their group. It doesn't matter what age they are. They're great volunteers. They're happy to be there helping out. So they have a lot of similarities despite backgrounds and neighborhoods and ages. Good group.
All right, well, we'd love to invite you to present on Cert to the seniors at both locations.
Love to do it.
As well as information about the special needs registry that I think they should be signed up for. So this is really exciting. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. I'm going to stop sharing. All right, there we go. Hey, I did. I'm very proud of myself today.
You did a good job. So Bob, what would you tell a senior to do if because I get worried about the seniors that are kind of homebound and not computer savvy and a little diminished in capacity. What should be their plan?
Their plan is to probably first find family members or someone else, depending on what abilities they have. That's probably the first part of the planning, is to go, okay, what are my abilities? What can I do? There's some of the things we would talk about is if we had to evacuate folks, how do you evacuate? What do you bring? During the tropical storm over the summer, we had to, and I think Karen remembers it, we had a bunch of folks we had to evacuate from an apartment building. They showed up at Connor, and some of them didn't have their driver's license. They didn't bring any bedding, no personal toiletries. Well, you're not going to go home. So part of the training is, okay, if I had to go, where would I go? One of the things we stress is you are your own expert when it comes to preparedness. Everybody's plan has to be based on their need. So if you're an older person with some diminished capabilities, how would you go? Or it's part of being alert. If you know that a winter storm is going to come and you know there's a good chance you might lose power, you may want to relocate to a family member or someplace else during that storm, so you have somebody there, especially if you have caregivers coming in, because they may not be able to make it. So so the first step would be check what are your own capabilities. If there's something that you there might be a deficiency in a plan or something you couldn't do yourself, how are you going to overcome that? And they can also we're a resource. That ready.gov we're a resource. Always happy to talk to anybody on it.
It seems like part of that presentation to the senior centers, you should adapt their emergency preparedness plan to include identifying some people like ahead of time that would be there to call if there were issues, to check in or pick up.
Yep, you're absolutely right, Rebecca. And that's kind of how I cheat, is I go to that ready.gov and hit that specific area, which has all that, a lot of that information there is that planning, is think about evacuating before. That's part of the planning process is if a storm's coming, do you evacuate or do you stay? Do you have enough food? Do you have batteries? How are you going to communicate? Do you have a radio that works? Do you have your prescriptions ready in case you have to go quickly? The worst thing to do is show up at a shelter if you're dependent on especially multiple prescriptions and you don't have them. CVS isn't going to be open. We'll try and get prescriptions as fast as we can, but they may not have their list of medicines. So it's important in your go bag is to have a list of your medicines, have a list of contacts. If your cell phone goes dead, my cell phone goes dead, I won't be able to call anybody. I don't remember anybody's number now. I just hit the name.
All right, so you've got your go bag packed and you would call people, but you need to get to the shelter, but you can't drive. What happens then?
We're going to get you there to the shelter. That's what we're going to, if it's an evacuation and there's no other way, we're going to provide transportation to get folks out of danger and into a shelter. But, and this goes back to the preparedness and the planning, if it's 1 or 2 people that need it, we can do it. If it's 100, it's going to take a while. So that's why we really stress this pre-planning, so that it can relieve the the first responders to actually respond to those calls. Is because the October 2011 snowstorm was a very interesting situation for us because it was almost a revolving door where first responders all over the state would go to a elderly person's home with no heat. Well, if it's no heat and they're suffering, the first thing you do is send them to the hospital. Well, the hospital goes, look, there's no medical emergency. And we would have ambulances showing up at Conard, dropping the elderly off at the shelter because the hospitals are overwhelmed also. So, we're a society that's designed for blue sky, that, there's only a few emergencies at a time. And we saw that with COVID quickly too, as the hospitals got overrun, where if you had a car accident, you might be sitting on a gurney in the emergency room for hours waiting for a bed. So that's why we're really pushing this preparedness, is come up with a plan, come up with your idea, and then that leaves us resources to deal with emergencies more efficiently.
Are the Cert volunteers, do they drive people in emergencies? Is that something they would be allowed to do?
Eventually they may, but right now we're still working some of that through our risk management, because there's a whole another layer with personal vehicles and driving, and but we do have plenty. We've got plenty of vehicles where we can get folks into places. And we're some other good news, I think, too, is we're heavily involved with the American Red Cross now to help run our shelters and regional shelters. So they're bringing a lot of training and stuff to the table also. All right.
One last question.
Sure.
If there is a storm coming up and we know what's coming up, do these Cert volunteers reach out to people on the special needs registry ahead of time?
We do not.
Okay.
No, that has not been part of the program yet. But that's a good thought.
Yeah. And then it's my understanding that the special needs registry is separate than whatever gets put on the alert with the police and
Yes,
fire.
that's a really good question, Rebecca. There's
Okay.
two different things. One is the computer-aided dispatch system, the CAD system that the police and fire use, can put alerts onto addresses. So that's different than the special needs registry. So you also don't have to go through the special needs registry to have an alert put on the address. So that can be done directly through the police or fire department. Or again, it can be done through me. Somebody could send an email in and I can get that alert done, put on. The special needs registry is a list that is just folks we kind of want to check on, see how they're doing after the event is over. It's usually in the recovery phase, or would be in the recovery phase. It wouldn't be during the event. Also, during the event, the Cert members are not going to be available during a storm. So we can pre-position them to start spinning up a shelter or a place of refuge, is what we did during one of the last tropical storms. Just in case we needed to evacuate somebody from a house, we could put them at the Elmwood Community Center. But there's not going to be a lot of folks moving during an actual storm. It's during the recovery phase.
All right. Well, thank you very much.
Great.
That was very informative. Does anybody have any other questions?
Bob, I will reach out to you to get you on the schedule at both the centers, and also to get the information written down so we can create a full flyer for this and keep it in the bulletin.
Excellent.
And encourage the seniors that need to be registered on the special needs, get them set up right away.
Great. Thanks so much, Rebecca. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you. Thank you, Bob.
Yeah.
What, a handshake. All right. It looks like Rosemary tried to call in, and so we're trying to work with David to see if we can get a number so she can call in so we have the quorum. But if that doesn't work out, then we'll just continue forward until she's able to call in if she is. I realized that Wesley Winterbottom, Wesley, do you want to introduce yourself? You don't have to if you don't want to. I just realized that we didn't give you a chance earlier. All right, so we will move on. I wanted to go over some stuff that came up that I don't think it requires a quorum. Ellen has resigned effective February 1st. So we are down a committee member. I think right now our members are Linda Hanson, Mary Riley, Rebecca, that's me, Bob Kennedy, Rosemary Cleary, and Noreen. And then we have Beth has submitted her resume and intentions to the town. She was actually going to be voted on in the February meeting, and that meeting got canceled. The town council meeting got canceled, so I think that we're waiting till March for that. All right, Becky's got a question.
I just want to let you know that Wesley Winterbottom is Beth Rocco. I don't know. I forgot the story behind Wesley Winterbottom, but Beth, you're muted. I don't know if you can unmute yourself.
That's funny.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah. I know how to switch the name on Zoom, but I'm on WebEx and I tried all over how to change his name, but I couldn't do it.
Well, I was waiting for Mr. Winterbottom to
forget Wes. It's Beth.
Well, we are excited that you're going to hopefully join the commission, and now we're just waiting. You heard what I said about the February meeting being canceled. I don't know what happened with the town council, but that meeting has gotten canceled. We got word today. So we're going to wait for the March meeting. I also wanted to say that we delivered some flowers to Amy Silverman, the prior chair, and they were beautiful and she loved them and it was a great surprise. So I appreciate everyone who contributed to that. There was a nice card that went out. We added some sprigs of rosemary. It was a nice little planter for her house at her new place. So she was very appreciative and she wanted to tell everybody thank you. So let's see what else. Then the last thing that I wanted to bring up before we moved on to the reports is the town has a new civic clerk. Now, Bob clued me into this, and so thank you. The town is moving to put all their commissions and council meetings, minutes, notices, calendars, all in one kind of app or a program called Civic Clerk. It's currently active on the town website. What's not active is that they're slowly moving in all the commissions. So some of our stuff is on there, but not all of it. And they're going to slowly integrate everything. You can go to it without registering, but if you want to get updates, somewhere on that part of the website is a way that you can register. So you could get notifications. So if it's called Civic Clerk, it's right on the West Hartford website, town website. And I think it's going to be nice. You can see a lot of information. I pulled off the minutes from the town council meeting last month very easily off of the website. So it makes it nice and easy. All right. Well, then we will just go straight into our reports since we can't approve the meetings because Rosemary isn't part of it. Oh, so I've got a number for Rosemary. Come look at it and you can send it to her. Yep. All right. So while we're doing that, why don't we start with Karen's report from the West Hartford Social Services. Are you ready, Karen?
I'm ready. I did have a quick question. Once Beth is accepted, will you have a full commission or will you still be in need of members?
We have a total capacity of 9 and we will be at 7. So we'll need 2 more members.
Okay.
We've
Well, I'll continue to promote that as much as possible.
And we
Yeah.
just created a flyer, Noreen did, and she gave it to Becky Sears, and she was gonna publicize it. Yeah, for the other two positions.
Okay. Oh,
I know Noreen's
excellent.
got somebody that's tentatively interested, but you know how those things go.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I mean, I learned a lot about the process. If you're interested, you either contact one of us or Essie, and then you submit to Essie your formal interest, and a little bio / resume. Then she submits it to the town council for approval at the next meeting or two, depending on how quickly they get it on the table.
Okay.
And that's when you're officially appointed.
Okay.
And then once you're appointed, Beth, you go down and you have to be sworn in by the town. It takes like 2 seconds, but they officially swear you in.
Hi,
All right.
Rebecca.
Great. Thank you.
Rebecca?
Yes.
Gail here. I am interested. Actually, I had expressed interest before, but my understanding was the positions are filled by party affiliation. So do you know, since you said you're down 2 members, what specific party slots were taught you have, or you?
We think that there's one of each.
Okay, so I'm if it's I had indicated last time, but I was of the wrong party. So I'm going to
This is great news, Gil.
Excellent.
yeah, I'm going to submit my interest again and to Essie, if that's acceptable to you all. And I just wanted to let you know.
Oh, that'd be wonderful. Please do.
Okay, thank you.
All right. All right, Karen,
All
Just to respond to Gail, this is Noreen Bachteler. Gail, you can email your letter of interest and a resume with your party affiliation to Essie LeBro or you can deliver it person or mail or fax. So if you need any of that information, please contact me. But again, to expedite it, but you do need to indicate your party affiliation. And I understand with when you are appointed by the town council that signing in by the town clerk, I believe now they've been doing it. You can do it virtually. That's up to they have been doing it virtually as well as in person. So, and I took some time to try to get Rory Clary some additional telephone information for the meeting and access code. So she did try to log in and was having difficulties. So she may be able to join us. If not, this meeting can't do any voting actions. But we can hear from people since you all are online with us. It'd be good to hear some updates.
Thank you. Through the chair, Noreen, I just realized something. I may not be able to apply. I will call Essie because I'm already on a couple of other boards, and I think there's a limit or a prohibition to how many commissions or boards you can be a part of. But I'll talk to Essie and find out and let you know.
I thought that it was one. I thought you could only be on one, but I could be wrong.
See, I think you're right. Now that it's coming back to me, not only was I the wrong party, but I was already part of something else. I may not be eligible after all again.
Oh, no.
Oh, I was saying, please try.
I will. I'll let you know what happens.
All right. Well, Karen, you're up.
Okay, so hello. And I want to apologize for missing last month's meeting at the last minute. Our manager has been off since the beginning of January, and so like so many other agencies and everybody else out there, we have been short-staffed. And I've been responding to emergencies and things like that. So I appreciate your understanding of that. And to that end too, there isn't a whole lot new. We're just trying to keep moving forward with what we're working on presently. We continue to get a lot of referrals. The referrals seem to be more complicated, and the resources out there either more difficult to access or not as plentiful due to COVID and other agencies being short-staffed as well. But we're, trying to work together as a team, being creative and doing our best. The West Hartford Prevention Coalition is continuing to meet. They are still looking for member representation. I know that's a challenge for a lot of the coalitions and commissions, but if you know anybody that might be interested, they meet once a month, and they're trying to, they really want community input on how to spend a grant geared towards mental health and substance abuse prevention. One of the things that I believe they're working on now is QPR, question, persuade, and refer, which is training for anybody in the community on how to help someone that is expressing some thoughts of suicide or that you suspect might be. So it's for any, you'll see more information coming out on that shortly. The food pantry continues to be extremely busy, giving out more and more food in less time periods. The volunteer services have resumed fully. And Barbara Roberts is continuing to try to match up the volunteers. There's a lot of shuffling going around with, people that were available during the shutdown might not be, and then people that weren't comfortable volunteering during the shutdown are now becoming more comfortable. So she's dealing with that, but it's moving forward and getting better for sure. And the food pantry and community partnerships has also been very involved in distributing test kits and masks for people who are homebound. So if you know of anybody, they have a group of volunteers that has been making deliveries. So if you know of anybody that's homebound or for some reason has difficulty getting out of the house to those distributions that Bob mentioned, please reach out to us or to Suzanne Oslander in the food pantry. Dial-A-Ride continues to operate under CDC guidelines. No changes there really. Energy assistance. I think I mentioned at our last meeting that we lost the energy assistance worker that we host here in our office. And that was a tremendous help. He resigned from CRT. We've been getting calls from residents that are very frustrated with CRT, not being able to either make an appointment, get through on the call line, if they have an appointment, not getting their paperwork back or their award letters, which there's all kind of ripple effects for that. So we did have a big meeting with social workers from all the municipalities in Connecticut, and we're going to write a letter and meet with some of the higher ups to express our concerns. But that being said, if you do know of anybody that's struggling, please have them reach out to us, and we will try to intercede. CRT did last week give us a special phone number that we can use to try to resolve some problems, but some of the other towns that are actually completing the applications themselves say that people haven't heard back since October on applications that have been submitted. So it's a real concern, and we want to make sure that we can help people get their applications processed. So The Choices program continues to operate remotely, and if feel free. I know there's the senior center also has a Choices volunteer. Open enrollment, as you know, ended December 7th, but there are extenuating circumstances. So if you know anybody that's interested, let them know to call us or reach out to the senior center. And the evictions, we continue to work on evictions and relocation. And that's about it for now. Does anybody have any questions?
Karen, I just wanted to give you an update. Our Choices volunteer is out on family leave right now.
Oh,
So,
okay, okay.
so I don't know when those appointments will be available. Again, we're thinking maybe March, but we have been referring people to the general.
Okay, good to know. So we won't refer them to you. Okay. All right. I mean, we have one person that we refer to, but the general number. Okay, thank you.
So for the first time ever, I've had 2 clients in recent weeks that have gotten these IRMA notices about these ridiculously high Medicare premiums that they're having to pay because they took distributions from their IRAs. Do y'all do any advising on anything like that?
No, I'm not familiar with that.
Well, so IRMA is this thing that's been around for a long time that says that if you have income over a certain amount of money, you have to pay a larger premium on your Part B premium for Medicare, and you also
yeah.
have an added premium for Part D. And they look back 2 years, so they look at the tax from 2 years prior to make that calculation. Then they make you pay the whole amount of the extra amount in one lump sum at the beginning of the year. So I got a client coming in and she's on a fixed income. She's retired. She took out money to put a new roof on her house because she was going to lose her insurance. And they counted that income as income. And it's going to cost her, I think it was an extra $2,700 a year for Part B, and then another amount for Part D, another couple of hundred. And she had to pay it all in this lump sum. And there's absolutely nothing. I mean, I made a bunch of calls and there's nothing that any of these seniors can do when they fall into the situation. They can't say it was a one-time distribution like you can with the Medicare savings plan.
Yeah.
And it used to apparently not be so bad, but when the CARES Act came out by Trump, they decreased the limits for the income, which more people are falling into it. And it's called IRMA, and I just couldn't believe that no one had been talking about it yet, because it was so egregious that this poor woman is having her very poor, and all of a sudden has thousands of dollars of more insurance premiums because of this IRMA.
Is it IRMA?
No, it's a URMA.
UREMA. Okay.
Yeah,
IRMMA, I think. IRMA. And and it's not always a 2-year look back, Rebecca, because when I stopped getting deferred compensation, they wanted to do that 2-year look back, and I said no. I'm going to have very low income now for a couple of years, and there is some type of form letter that you can fill out and avoid that 2-year look back. So there are some ways around it, but the rates go from, I don't know, 170 a month regular up to some people paying $450 a month.
Oh my gosh.
Because of high incomes. And
Beth, you fell into one of the 7 exceptions, which was a retirement or massive change in income, which doesn't like, there's one for retiring, moving. They had accidents. They have like 7 emergency categories. So you luckily fell into one of those, but my two clients didn't. And she had gotten the highest category, and now she's paying the $450-ish a month, but it's all due at the beginning of the year.
And there's no
The
way
other
around
thing-
that either?
The other
There was no
thing
way
is,
for her because she didn't fall into one of these exceptions.
the other thing is that if you have investments, it talks about the limit being your adjusted gross income. And I was, looking at my federal form, and I says, oh, good, I don't have to pay anything extra. Well, guess what? It's your adjusted gross income with Connecticut additions on it. And certain investments are considered in Connecticut that aren't considered federally. So I got nailed the first year for the IRMA. So,
Yeah, I didn't know that.
yeah.
I wonder if like an agency like North Central Area Agency on Aging is aware of this, because I know they do some lobbying, advocating on different issues regards to Medicare. Might be worth maybe Maureen McIntyre asking her. I don't know, did you reach out to NCAAA at all?
No, I didn't, because I just was mobilizing on this because I just couldn't believe that people weren't aware that it was happening. It's almost like the seniors need to know about it ahead of time to plan their distributions accordingly. This woman wouldn't have ever done what she did if she knew that this was going to be the consequence. She would have like borrowed money from her kids or something and then made smaller distributions to cover the payback to them.
Yeah.
But it's worth, I guess, learning more about. It might be something that we have somebody come in and speak about, but it's something that I think is going to start becoming a legislative issue that people are going to start paying attention to.
So, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we at Social Services wouldn't give anybody like financial or legal advice, but now that I'm aware of it, if somebody mentions it, I could say, well, make sure you ask about this, or make sure you ask your attorney or your accountant about IRMA.
Rebecca, would you be willing to come into the senior centers and present on this, or put us in contact with someone that you think would be a good resource?
Well, I don't know enough about it, but I sure do know people that do. And I do think that it would be something good to talk about, because it's like it's exists and it's a big problem, but nobody's acknowledging it.
Yeah.
Rebecca, Gail here, do you think idea popped in my head. Do you think contacting Congressman Larson's office might be a good idea? Because I know he deals with Social Security and a lot of federal programs, and I'm familiar with IRMA as a former state employee, and luckily for us who are retired, we get reimbursed for that. So that's kind of an unusual circumstance here in Connecticut. But I was just wondering if maybe we could get someone from his office to come in also, maybe we can have a couple of people or a panel come in and each speak to that, because it is a it's part of the federal Social Security or Medicare package.
Right. It has nothing to do with Connecticut per se.
No, I know, but that's what I'm just saying, the way it works and how it works and who gets affected and what happens if you take an early withdrawal. I mean, I don't know. I'm just familiar with, I've heard people talk about what you're talking about with IRMA.
No, I would reach out to him, because I think those are the people that are going to have to start effectuating this change.
Can I say something? Every independent Medicare insurance broker is fairly well versed about IRMA and, can advise their clients. But otherwise, you're about to turn 65 and you see these things on your application and it's like, oh my God, what is all of this? And it's not talked about that much.
And I think a lot of my clients, they don't know about these insurance brokers. They think that they have to pay for them. It is this enigma, like how they're getting their money for providing the services. I do recommend an insurance broker a lot for the complexities, but it's a lot of people don't even know that they exist or that they can be helped without paying a huge fee. Yeah. All right, well, that seems like a good new topic for us to explore. Oh, Bob, you have your hand up. I'm sorry, I'm not seeing everybody's.
You just, Rebecca, you just answered it. I was going to suggest that we bring someone in to present to the commission about Irma, because I think it's news to a lot of us.
Yeah, I think it's a great idea. And I think I might know just the guy too. All right, well then let's move on to Gail with the Seniors Job Bank.
Well, thank you. I really don't think I have anything to report. I did not realize that Sheila wasn't going to be at the meeting. I don't know, did she send you a report or email or anything, Rebecca?
She just let me know this morning that she was unfortunately not going to be able to attend.
Okay, so I did just text her a little while ago and she's medically indisposed. So I didn't know that either. And I guess what I want to say about the Senior Job Bank is, you know, we're rolling into what we call the start of our busy season, which is for handymen and workers to help people, you know, with spring cleanup and things of that nature. Also, this is sort of the time of the year, March, April, when people start looking around their houses to unclutter and are looking for people to help them assist, box up, pack up, or throw out things. So I anticipate, because it's sort of cyclical in terms of how historically our job seekers and employers base databases go, we'll see a significant uptick. On the business side of things, we do continue to get more nonprofit and small businesses contacting us looking for office assistants or people to just be like a supplemental auxiliary part-time employee in their establishments. So that's good. Internally, we are in the process of working on a marketing plan. I don't know if Sheila had addressed that last time we met, I'm not sure, which is designed to upgrade and improve our Facebook, all of our social media pages and our website. And we've also just recently are about to complete the installation of a new software program that will allow us to interface information between job seekers and employers more quickly through the computer. And I want to say that's, you know, about it.
I'm hoping more people come out and to especially the seniors who are volunteering now that COVID numbers are going down, because last month it was pretty scary, and so I bet there was nobody wanting to join or put their names on the list.
Well, you know, we have always consistently had a healthy bank of in our database of job seekers for the kind of outdoor, indoor, I call it springtime, summer work. And you're right, because of COVID, well, we didn't actually have a lot of people looking for them to help them because they didn't want them in their homes or around. So, and then we had the workers themselves who were leery about doing those kinds of chores because, you know, we're basically been in winter mode. And so that meant the work was more inside than outside. But outside kind of brings a whole new element to the game in terms of people feeling comfortable and more safe. And you're right, the infection numbers are significantly low and the masks are being dropped, you know, by municipalities and schools here and there. So we're heading into what we call our busy handyman worker season, and employers are starting to hire again.
Oh, so I was saying that I was looking forward to the unveiling of the new computer system and seeing how it hearing how it goes.
Oh, okay. Thank
Any
you.
questions for Gil? I can't see the there we go. Yeah, there's no hands up. All right, so then we're going to move on to Kevin with the ITN Central Connecticut. You take it away, Kevin.
Good morning, everyone. We continue to provide rides anytime for any reason for older adults, as well as for younger adults with visual impairments. Certainly, Omicron had an impact on our ride requests last month. They were down substantially from prior months, but we're now seeing an uptick in ride requests, and we expect with spring and reduced positivity rates for COVID that we'll get back to a higher rate of use. Thankfully, in January, we added 2 volunteer drivers, bringing our total to 24, which is a good level for the number of riders that we have. And I would just like to remind everyone that we do provide very low-cost rides for people, given our circumstances. We've never raised our rates in 13 years of providing rides, and our rates are about half of commercial rates. Also, we do provide free rides for all eye care appointments with the generous support of Regeneron Pharmaceuticals. So we have many people who take advantage of that, and we bring them to eye doctors all the time. We are in the midst of our annual appeal, which is very important to us, as 3/4 of our revenues come from the community, from individuals and businesses and foundations. And we're at about 60% of our goal. The end of our fiscal year is June 30th, so we still have a ways to go. We're optimistic we'll make it, but we're open to receiving donations from whomever might be interested in supporting us. So that's about what I can offer this morning. Any questions about anything?
I have a quick question. I believe the last meeting I was at, you said you weren't sure if the grant was going to be refunded for low-income West Hartford residents. Do you have any updates on that, or?
I do not have an update on that as yet. We
Okay.
have not received additional support as yet, and we are close to the end of that fund. So we are working actively to pursue that, and I hope next month I'll have something to report.
Okay, thanks.
So does that grant include discount rates for young people with eye problems, and then free appointments for anybody who's going to the eye doctor that's older?
Anybody who's a member of our organization as a rider, meaning anybody who lives in one of our 15 towns we serve who are 60 and over or 18 and over with visual impairment, is eligible for free eye care rides. So their only cost would be our annual membership, which is $40 for an individual or $65 for a family. Otherwise, the rides are absolutely free to an optometrist, an ophthalmologist, eye care center, anything related to your eyes.
And then how often do you have to renew that grant?
We are we need to renew it really every year, and so that is being pursued currently for calendar year 2023 with Regeneron Pharmaceuticals. So we should be good through this calendar year. We'll see about next year.
All right. I think that any questions for Kevin? All right, let's move on to Becky Sears with the West Hartford Senior Centers.
Good morning, everyone. Our spring bulletin went to the publisher last Monday, so it will be available online on Saturday, and our registration for all of our programming for the spring opens on Saturday, which we're very excited about. That is a full week ahead of the previous schedules. We want to move that back even another week for the summer bulletin to give people more time to register for those events that are at the beginning of the month of the new quarter. So just a reminder, our quarter runs a little bit off the regular calendar. We go seasonal, so the spring bulletin will be March, April, and May to reflect the spring months. We should be back up and running fully in person. We will always continue to offer some hybrid and virtual programs simply because those seniors that are homebound really appreciate having that as an option, but we are trying to encourage people to come to the centers and socialize and reemerge. Our numbers, the numbers that I looked at for membership, we were at 1,032 as of Friday. So that's a growth of about 400 members since the fall, which I think is indicative of people being hopeful that Omicron is falling off quickly and that things will be up and running as usual shortly. We are going to keep our mask mandate in place. We're following suit with the public school system and the library simply because our seniors obviously are at high risk for COVID, and we want to make sure that we're providing a safe environment for as long as possible. And I anticipate that by the time the mask mandate is lifted at the library and school level, that the Omicron levels will be below 5%. So we'll be in a safer space by then. Right now, the programs we had our first gathering of about 45 seniors. We offered social distancing, masks obviously remained in place, but we had our first very successful program, our Valentine luncheon yesterday, which was wonderful. It was so great to see people back and enjoying a social gathering. We had it at the auditorium at Elmwood Community Center, so there was ample space. And Noreen very graciously attended and talked about the opportunity to join the commission. And it was well received, and there were lots of wonderful questions asked, and Noreen was a great resource. So we also have the flyer that I just displayed. Thank you very much for this, Noreen. So we're going to get this out through Constant Contact, which is our weekly email blast. We're also going to post it for those that don't utilize email. And we have information that was given to us by the commission is in the bulletin and will be published as well. So that information will be available in a variety of locations in a variety of ways. As I introduced earlier, I have Kevin Ryan here, and it's a very exciting opportunity for us. Kevin has been an instructor at the Senior Center for quite a while. He runs a program called Wisdom Warriors, which is it's actually Wisdom Road Adventure. Wisdom Road Adventure is the new title for it. And so Kevin is a student at Central Connecticut, and he is getting certified in gerontology. And so I could not be more excited to have a senior citizen intern here at the Senior Center. I think obviously he's very well educated. He has an incredible amount of experience. You can speak for yourself, I guess, right? Sorry.
Hello. On this side of the grass, so that's always good. I started back at Ccsu in October after a brief 50-year hiatus from graduate school. So it's been very interesting to do that. I'm very interested in helping my fellow active adults get more proactive. And one of the things Becky and I are looking at is state of services at the center now, what might be needed in populations that are emerging, since we have 10,000 people a day retiring right now in this country. So there's going to be a massive shift to, in 15 years, there'll be more people over 65 than under 24 in this country. So we have a lot to work with. That's also opportunity. I'm an engineer by training. I've had a long career in a bunch of things. I've got a portfolio of activities. Very much interested in the community. I live here in West Hartford. I have been a bit of a snowbird because I also jointly used to travel to Arizona, but I gave that up in 2020 after a pretty heavy dose of what I think might have been COVID, but it was before they could. And so I haven't been on a plane since. So I'm here, and I'm very interested. I'm active in my own life in a large family, and I have some aging seniors in my own family. So I have some real-time access to the needs of the of really people who are having limited physical abilities. So those conversations that you just had about a readiness, I very quickly thought about my older brother and what might be needed if there was a disaster, and how do we get that guy's equipment out of the house and somewhere that he could use it. So thank you. I'm looking forward to this. This internship is 120 hours. I want to tell Rebecca that I bet we'll do 200, but
or more,
because there's a lot of work that needs to be done. And I don't measure my efforts usually by the hour, so I like to measure it by the accomplishment. And it's going to take a lot to get what we want done, but we'll get it done.
Yeah, absolutely. So Kevin is joining us, and we connected because part of what I have, the vision that I have for the senior center, was to start to get the younger seniors prepared for retirement and for what comes after. And so we started something. The umbrella of it is WeHa University, and that's with a YOU University. And we're going to create programs that speak to people of all ages. It's geared toward 55 or older. But the premise will be creating a place where people can come to learn and explore, and we'll be looking at the total human health, the perspective. So psychological health, spiritual health, financial health, career health. So the whole gamut will be under this umbrella. We're starting with Dr. Sharon Gutterman, and kind of looking more at organic, spaces for healing with meditation and other areas. And we're going to move into Kevin, which will be, planning for that second career and looking at financial health and retirement and options. So really excited about this. Programs will be offered after traditional senior center hours. Anywhere from 5:30. The first program launching in the spring will be from 6:30 to 7:30 at night with dinner included, 4-part series. So I'm hoping that it will attract people my age. It will attract people in their early 60s. We know seniors are working longer and later in life. So, so I'm excited about creating the space, and really excited that I'm doing it in partnership with someone who is so talented, so well educated, so experienced, and also at the appropriate age.
Okay, well, thanks for that. And one thing I would just touch on, because Rebecca mentioned Wisdom Road Adventure. Wisdom Road Adventure is a concept I started in 2019 on my own. Simply enlightened self-interest. I wanted to find out what was down the road. So I started to talk conversations with people either my age or older. Because I'm an engineer, so we like to do these kind of things. So I've had over 60 conversations with people my age or older. The highest was 102, several people in their 90s. And Wisdom Road Adventure is a celebration of acquired knowledge. That's really what I want older people to do, is to celebrate the amount of wisdom they have in themselves. We don't do it very well. People discount their own life experience. So even at the center here, we started in 2019. I did a presentation here, I think 6 days before COVID hit, and they shut the whole place down. But people said I was very good at shutting places down. We restarted it, and I asked that we do a series because one of the things I felt was maybe a bit of a challenge is there's a lot of good programming here, but it's all one-off. It's I call it smokestacking. Good program once, but no follow-up. So I asked if we could do at least 4 as an experiment to see if people would come back, and it's working. I mean, to me the numbers are low, but Rebecca tells me that they're good numbers based on how the center works. But I'd like to think that we over time will weave this into this whole concept that we're emerging now called WeHi University, because certainly all the elements of Wisdom Road Adventure are embraced in that concept. We as Americans, and actually as people in the world, statistically, we have a life expectancy of 120 years. So that's at half our life expectancy, we say, okay, now go do something that you've never done before. So there's very little preparation, very little training, and I think this discussion about Irma is a very good example of that. We should be catching that. We should have that conversation starting at 55, not 65, and find ways to make it interesting to be able to have people want to come. So
yeah, interesting and celebratory too. You know.
Yeah. So yeah. Well, I think it's really important that people have fun with what they're doing. So I was in one of my service organizations in Phoenix, actually, a Kiwanis Club. Our motto was fun, fellowship, and service. I think it works for a lot of people. It doesn't have to be a simple organization. So they're the kind of things that I'm hoping we're going to be able to make some strides with over the next couple of months.
All right. So that is our update. Does anybody have any questions?
I do. Mr. Ryan, do you give a presentation or anything about some of the benefits that seniors are entitled to? Particularly, you made me think about that I think it's the Older Americans Act, but I'm not sure, where you can go non-degree to any state school to audit classes for free or something like that?
Yeah, well, I'm actually a recipient of that right now at CCSU. Thank you very much for the state of Connecticut. Yeah. If you're 65 or older, for registration fee, you can attend any university. And I will have, I'm not rushing, but I'll have that certification in a couple of years. It'll be on my 80th birthday. I expect to wear a little hat.
Well,
so,
it seems like a celebration to, as you're getting ready for retirement, you find out, oh, you can have the Golden Park Pass, and you can have the free classes, and you can get the Audible books. And I think there's a collection of things that people are entitled to. Does the senior center or anybody have a handout?
We don't at this time, but that's a great idea.
Well, I can certainly talk about it. I mean, you can audit any class. You don't have to take it. I am doing it on a free basis, but you can. Any senior citizen can audit any of the classes. Great program, and it's very, very underutilized. And actually, they like us being around the campus. People have hair of my particular color and not all that. Yeah. I walk into a classroom and think I'm the professor. So
right. But to add to that, Rebecca, what you were also the other benefits that are available. Like I had no idea about the Audible books and other programs. That would be great if we had like a cheat sheet of, do you know what's available to you?
Yep.
Well, I have an old one that I haven't looked at in years that I used to present to my elder law class at University of Hartford. So maybe I'll dust it off, and the next time we don't have a speaker, I'll give that'll be my emergency backup. And then once it's all tweaked, you can have it for the senior centers.
That sounds like a great project for an intern that I know.
There you go. Well, then maybe I'll just email you my old one as a good starting point, because it'll have to be updated. It's probably about 8 years old.
All right.
One last point. The internship program is an annual program at CCSU. So every year, and it happens to be this, what we call the winter semester, there is an internship program that could be, accessed. And West Hartford Senior Center was on the list. That's actually why I'm here. I was here anyway, but when I saw it on the list, I said, okay, I can make that work.
Well, thank you very much. And Mr. Ryan, it sounds like you're doing a wonderful job.
Well, it's fun. Come and join me.
All right, so now we're going on to new business, and we're gonna not have as much new business as we were planning, but we have something that is slightly urgent, and it is that last month Helen talked about this potential advisory commission for the Mayflower property. And that has since now we've gotten a notice from the town with a deadline of February 28th to pick a person with an alternate to represent us. So I'm going to read the little handout so we know what they're looking for. As you know, the town recently purchased the property at 100 Mayflower, where the town intends to develop a new multi-use community center. We are creating a new community center advisory committee to work with architects and town staff to evaluate issues and opportunities for the Mayflower facility to help prioritize potential functions of the site. This advisory committee will allow town staff, leadership, stakeholders, and residents to work together to ensure that the design and planned functions of the new facility align with the strategic vision of the town. The town will soon select an architect design firm to conduct an initial functional program development and facility feasibility study. Wow, that's a mouthful. The study would assess the existing Mayflower facility, evaluate renovation or new construction options, and identify probable costs for the various options. The resulting report would provide the West Hartford community with an understanding of the challenges and opportunities of the building and its site. We are reaching out to you as a stakeholder to invite a member of your group to participate in the planning of this new building by serving on the new Elmwood Community Center Advisory Committee. So they are saying that we're supposed to have one member and one alternate, and that we are supposed to submit we're supposed to vote on it, which we can't do today, and forward their names and resumes to the town by February 28th. So I wanted first to see if anybody was interested in being on that committee. And then the next thing would be that we would just talk about how it would work. I think what would have to happen is that we would have to tell the town that we've got some people, but they're not official because we couldn't vote on it, and see what they do. So is anybody interested?
I'm very interested, but I'm not yet on the commission.
Yeah, so we asked some questions about that, Beth, and they said that we couldn't preliminarily put you there until you were a member, but that what we could do, unless there was somebody that had a strong interest that was already a committee member, is that we could appoint somebody as an interim person until you were elected, and then we would kind of then they would just be there for the first meeting or two until you were able to come on. That's not even going to work now because we don't have enough members to vote somebody this time. So but there's not you're still not going to be elected for the next meeting, I don't think, but barring somebody having a strong desire to be on the commission, I think that is our current plan, is that if somebody is interested in being an interim, that they would do it until such time as you could step in.
I think what we could do is to forward this letter that we just received to the commission members, that all the commission members, to let them look at that and then have some discussion back and forth if they are, if they want to put, if they are interested. And then I'm not sure if we could have a special meeting. I guess we have to check the rules, whether there could be a meeting. Our next meeting of this commission is until March 15th. So we will, I think first we'd like to provide this information that we received from the town manager to the commission and see if anybody is interested. And then we could have, whether either at a special meeting or at March 15th, we could take a vote. But Beth, we know that you're interested and, you know, we're pleased that you're interested, on that. We'd have to have a member and a designee. I would, you know, they asked us to respond by February 28th. There's several. There must be about 3, 6, 8, 15 different boards, commissions for this committee. So, you know, I think it'll be a large group. They're anticipating it to be once a month. It's a process. Anybody else that's here? Let's see, do we still have Bob? Maybe he's not with us. But we do have other commissions. So I think we can forward this letter to our commission members and just let them be aware of it. So that was really our new business, to have that discussion about making you aware of it. Some other things.
I don't mean to drop out. You do have the capacity. I was just looking up some of the guidelines to hold a special meeting as long as you give the public 24 hours advance notice.
Okay, great. Okay, thank you for that. Yeah. So maybe we could try to hold that meeting so to comply with the town manager, to let him know, because I mean, we do definitely want the senior advisory commission to have a definite role in this planning advisory committee. This is so important. And so we will talk about getting that special meeting and getting this information out to the commission.
Either that, or I anticipate that they want a decision by February 28th, but there's no actual meeting yet scheduled for this new committee, so that we could say, oh, well, we'll just have somebody go to the meeting if we have to, until we can get somebody officially in place. And then what we'll do is we'll just add that on to as a report every month, and that committee member would report every month to the group. And then if there were major decisions, we would help as a commission guide what our direction would be with the property and what we would think is important. But yeah, so they have the West Hartford Public Library Board. They're going to have a person. A Pedestrian and Bicycle Safety Commission will have one. Clean Energy Commission, Mayor's Youth Council, Commission on the Arts, Human Rights Commission, West Hartford Public Schools, and 2 residents at large, Park and Recreation Advisory Board, Senior Citizens Advisory Board, which is us, the Elmwood Business Association, Advisory Commission for Persons with Disabilities, the West Hartford Chamber of Commerce, Bridge Family Center board member, and the West Hartford Bloomfield Health District. So those are what they're calling the key stakeholders that they're going to be on this commission. Yes, Bob, did you raise your hand? Oh, okay. All right. Did you want to add anything else, Noreen?
Not so much to that, but I did want to also just kind of have some follow-up in a discussion. Again, we had a small group at our January meeting, and I was going to propose that we talked about the code. That's the existing code. Helen presented, it's in the minutes, about what the process is to update the code, make any changes. And I was thinking that it's something that will be a goal of ours this year, to look at updating the code. And I was thinking of maybe at the next, asking if anybody else wanted to work with me on that, and then we would present a report of suggestions to the commission. So I to form a subgroup of working on the code. Also, Rebecca and I will have to be working on an annual report from 2021 to submit to the town council. I'm looking back at what the achievements, what was discussed, and who the speakers were in 2021. So we'll be working on that. And then with that new civic clerk initiative that the town, I've been asking the town clerk, our liaison, Nadia Khan, she's our liaison to this commission, about whether we could have some type of, she doesn't know if it's a portal for contact. When members of the public want to, you know, be in contact with a commission member. Recently, I don't know if Karen is still on, I don't, you know, they went through the town social services to find out how to contact the commission. And I had been contacted by a resident, but I think it would be helpful and more standardized if there was a contact us on the commission website where somebody could fill out, you know, if they want, if there's a comment or question that they could submit to the commission. And I've seen this with other states do this, and other sites do this, that it'd be for contacting us. So that's something, I know, Rebecca, you said that, are you there, Becky Sears, that we could use the email box currently for the senior centers. That could be used if someone wanted to contact the commission. So we'll be looking at if that's an option, and whether there could be, though, on the civic clerk website, a contact us once that site is developed. You know, so it would be there for people to see the information. And how do I reach out? I think it's that's I think a good idea. I like that. Anybody have any thoughts about that? So I don't think those need to be voted on, but just some ideas that we're having in terms of this new year. But it looks like from this discussion that in terms of going forward, I know we're getting close to the end. We had for our next agenda, we had tentatively said, you know, elder justice hotline. That was one of the topics, and then some housing options for West Hartford residents. We haven't been able to secure a speaker on those. I've been working on trying to get a speaker from the town on that new ordinance, that accessory dwelling unit ordinance that was passed in 2021, that really does have you know, for seniors, whether, you know, it's an ordinance that's I think of interest, and I've been trying to get somebody from the town. Also, in terms of other housing options, somebody from the West Hartford Housing Authority. So if we can get speakers on those areas, we'd be looking at for our March meeting. If not, the discussion that we had today on the Irma, I'm not sure if we could get somebody in short notice for March. We have a lot of ideas, and that's what these meetings are good for, to have potential speakers. So we will be looking at that in our commission, and we'll get the public notice. I think a big thing, David, if you can help us figure out why Rosemary Clary, a commission member, did try to participate. I'm not sure what the issue was with the phone line. Do you have any idea why she wasn't able to get through?
Yeah, I'm not sure. The only thing that it does say is something about if you're a caller and you have call ID on, that then the system blocks you. But I think that's it's the only clue I have. I'm not sure why, of other reasons that might be causing the issue.
She said she was able to previously, when this is in the fall, and last year when we did use WebEx, that she didn't have a problem calling in. So maybe we could talk offline about that issue, the phone, because I do feel bad that she wasn't able to participate. Anybody else that for the audio portion. So we can maybe talk after this meeting about that to get it worked out for the next, because right now we're scheduled to have virtual for March and April.
Yeah, absolutely. We can do some troubleshooting.
Thank you. Okay.
All right, well, then I think theoretically we have it open for public comment. I'm not, if there's somebody out there that wants to say anything of interest, go.
We don't have anyone on the line, doesn't look like.
Yeah, that's the thing. So, so the next meeting is March 15th. it's going to be virtual again. Hopefully it'll be a little better. You know, every time it's a little better. They wanted us to do it in 3 meeting increments. We were talking about how Omicron's kind of washed through, and it'd be better if we could go in person, but we definitely for next month, because of notices, I think we have to stick to virtual. But we'll keep you posted about the April meeting to see if we can move that back to in person instead of having 3 virtual meetings, because it seems to work better in person and more people can attend. And I think that would be better if we can do it that way. So March 15th, and hopefully it's going to be that housing seminar. If not, then it might be that IRMA seminar. Does anybody have anything else before we adjourn? All right, well, I'm going to make a motion to adjourn. And since it wasn't an official meeting, I don't know if I need to get anybody to say that they're in agreement, but so I guess the adjournment time is going to be 11:53. I wish everybody a wonderful February and spring, and maple syrup season's coming online here shortly. So that'll be fun too. And I will talk to everybody next meeting. Bye.